pleasure to be here today. I promised in the past that I would like to give a lectures on artificial intelligence and indigenous knowledge system. So today's lectures is going to be on indigenous knowledge of Africa and artificial intelligence. So as you know that the world that we are living in, it's become interconnected. So which means that human beings, because of the movement from one place to another, we are becoming, connected than ever before because of in new technology, innovations, and other, mechanical devices that are useful for connecting each other. But in this era of what you call artificial intelligence eras, where information is vital for every person, we also need to look at this technology in relation to certain group, for instance, Africans. So before I even continue, we need to ask ourselves this question about artificial intelligence. Is it artificial intelligence good for Africans? This is a very fundamental question, especially in the era where innovations and informations or human rights are very important. So before I proceed to answer this question, I would like to give you a background about what is artificial intelligence. In simple words, artificial intelligence is a science of using machine to think like human being or to act in a human way. That's what we call a simple form of definition of artificial intelligence. So in other words, this allow or it gives control of robots to use or to perform tasks that are actually associated with intelligent beings or human beings. So in other words, that's what we call. We also must understand that these are the machines that are created by humans to perform the tasks that are supposed to be performed by humans. So this machine cannot create human beings, but human beings can create them. That's what we call artificial intelligence. Né? However, there's been a lot of debate about the biasness of these machines. Some place like in Africa where poverty is a big issue, inequalities remain one of the greatest legacy of greatest legacy of colonialism, whereby this some of country cannot afford machines because they are very expensive. Implementation of artificial intelligence across Africans, workforce, it's not going to be a easy task because you need money. Or another things we like, because of African have got what we call protest movement, where we've got leftist movement in Africa. So many of these parties may feel like, people are going to lose jobs. Therefore, it won't be an easy task to implement it. Another thing is that from a human point of view, as you know, that artificial, this robotic or that are been, we've seen all over being promoted in Africa. They, all know that these are machines. These are non-humans. So they like what you call creativities because some of them, they do what you call repetitive works. So this, and they lack emotions, which means that when you work in these kind of things, they are not attached to you. So they are doing the job that they were assigned to by human beings. Now, many people will ask, I will give example by, I will focus on African countries, especially Southern Africa, whereby it's supposed to be the center of this artificial intelligence. But we still have the whereby there's still ongoing debate. But this debate is coming from outside the country. Not African people, they just accept everything. Like maybe fourth industrial revolution was about robot, which was it was not true. It was not true. Now the history of this robot. If you go to South Africa, you ask average black South Africans, what do you call this traffic lights? What do you call traffic lights? Average black South Africans, they'll tell you that these traffic lights are called robots, and you ask them why? Because they do the job that was supposed to be done by the traffic controller, so they can do the job that's supposed to be done by traffic controller. So during the time of we were introduced to robotic unconsciously, So they were already there, and not only in the form of traffic lights, it's also in the form of there used to be a jukebox. You know, you go to this band or you go to the general dealers, you'll find a small jukebox by the door there where you put a jukebox. Just to explain for those who may not know, jukebox is it's a partially automated coin to operate that machine. So what happens is that a person who want to play a song, or a patron, you have to put a coin and select a number of the you press somewhere there, and then some letter there. What it does, jukebox, it will play the song that you selected. That's on its own. It's automated music play. It's part of artificial intelligence. It's used data that, you know, it does things that supposed to be done by human being. You know, that's another artificial, which means that this so-called artificial intelligence, those black people who live in the Bantustan, like those who live in Native American reserve, they've already been exposed to artificial intelligence. Can you believe it? But here today, in the 20, we don't even know that these things have been there. It's not a new thing. As you know that the issue of artificial intelligence has been, like I said earlier on, has been a complex issue to be discussed, whether these issues, like especially with regard to humanities. Now, like I said, it's not Africans were actually exposed this artificial intelligence. Even I think from 19 there used to be in 1942 there was a guy from Russia. He's Isaac Asimov. You know, he was the first, I think, one of few authors who was actually, he used to specialize with science fictions. He wrote a book, I think, about which is considered to be the first few books to talk about the issue of regulating robot. So where he was writing a fiction, I think the title of the fiction, it's a short story where it's called Run Around, which was published in 1942, where he created, you know, he created what he called ethical system for humans and robots. So Isaac, I know that Asimov had some, you know, he has been accused by women for a lot of things. So, but in this context, I just want to look at his contribution to human-centered technologies, you know, because he was one of the few authors to talk about robots. These things are how the robot should operate, where he emphasized that there must be respect of humanity. Robots should not kill. Can you believe it? Yeah, that's 1942. Remember, this guy, Isaac Asimov, he's writing in 1942, where he developed this robotic law. You must check them, the Asimov, if you're close to the books. So where close, how these robots should think that you should not do. You know, it should be governed. So what does it tell you? In 1942, somebody talked about this robot must not do this and this, must be governed, must be law. And in South Africa, in the 1940s and 50s, people are playing jukebox. 1970s, black people already call machine that direct traffic lights, they call them robots. Do you want to tell me that a robotic is a new thing? Absolutely no. Those people, if you want to test my hypothesis in a robot, so that robot must have ethics. They must be governed by human beings. This has to do like that. I think that this law of robots I already know, so I don't want to go in detail with them. So another thing that we must understand about these things of robot, I think you remember the issue of ethic, which is very important. It has to do with humanities. Humanity is very important for survival of everything, animals, biodiversity, and other stuff. Therefore, these robots must be controlled by humanities. And robot, remember, many students people are lying, even in Europe, but the most advanced country like America, Japan, Korea, the robots will never replace human beings, simply because who's gonna fix them? Who's gonna create them if they replace you? Robots actually like what you call creativities. You know, they are in empathies, don't have emotions, you know. Even communication skill is not like that of human beings. So you must also understand that even the issue of common science, you know, and doing strategic planning, the robot don't have those skills. They don't possess such skills. So the so-called robots will replace people. African must think beyond that. There are some jobs like being a judge, lawyers, teachers, human resource, administrator, gardening. You know, they can't replace human being. Those robots cannot replace those jobs. There is no way that a robot can replace a parent. Robot cannot replace therapist. Just imagine therapist. They cannot. They can only work under instruction of those things. Those people. Don't be fooled by people who are lied. What I'm trying to say is that there's a need for African youth to become inventors. You must strive to become inventors. You must be innovators. You must advocate to own patent. So you must advocate that if I invent something, I must own it. Because if you just listen to people who come to, if you look at those people in African, these academics who talk about robotic replace people, where they come from, their people don't have access to the internet, don't have access to clean waters. Just imagine somebody's talking about robot. He's not this. Some of these professors, I was very shocked to learn that they are not even robotics or they are not even inventors. If you see any professor from African university talking about robotics, you must ask them, do you own any patent? What is it that you invented? And that is it a robot in need of Africans? No, it's not. What African need, this robot, that are robotics and AI, they have got what you call, sometimes they create dilemmas. I think you all know that there was a trolley issues by Philippa Foot in 1967, where he used it as a test of moral intuition, with regard to what you call doctrine of double effect. So what he does, he take a troll, this is how he design his test. He said, here you have got a troll, you push a troll towards the 5 people, and then you are expected to pull a lever to divert to tracking one person, or instead of killing many people. What will you do? Would you kill one person or you kill 5 people? Is coming or something. The machine is expected to take decisions, these complex decisions. Killing one person or killing, what would you do? Because you all lose life. So the issue of the trolley problem used by Philip Foot in 1965 can teach Africans issue of morale, especially Ubuntu, with regard to human beings. Like life, whether it's one person or many, if it's lost by a robot, still may matter. So what I'm trying to say is that while these robots that we are talking about become autonomous, they also cause the issue of moral dilemma. What happens if the robot kill a person? And then this robot, who owns this robot? Can a robot own a person? If the robot owns something, why is it like human being cannot own anything, whereas African cannot own anything? So the point I'm trying to make is that Africans should think about these kind of things. Like the humanity are still very important beyond robot. There is no way that robot can surpass human capacity. Although robot can perform faster tasks than human being, but it will never replace human being. Who's gonna fix this robot? Because if you look at the big countries like UK, USA, artificial robots, these artificial intelligence robots cannot be classified as inventors. But in the poor countries, Africa, these robots can become inventors. Honestly, at this stage, I don't believe that robots will ever replace human beings. Even in the most advanced country like China, a place like shall I say, the Japan, it will never replace human beings. You cannot have, because human beings are organic. Yes, robot cannot, even whether sex robot will never replace human beings. Human beings create memories. Robot don't do that. So if the robot get damaged, who's gonna fix it? Human beings. Because we human beings are spiritual and emotional beings and empathetic. Sometimes we tend to be independent, and we have critical skills, and we are governed by law, indigenous law or modern law and norms. Whereas these robots, they depend on us for programming. And in other words, in simple form, what I'm trying to say is that robot is just a mechanical devices. It relies on our data generated by us. Therefore, it cannot replace human beings. It has got limitation. How can something that doesn't even have a brain would have you can replace human beings? So African people must push what we call data sovereignties. We also need to control and govern our own data. Because if we don't do that, we're going to rely on other people. It's like a poison chalice, you know. So at the moment, Africans don't have understanding, of which model they must follow and to push digital literacy. If you see any professor from Africa talking about robotics replacing human being, you must ask that professor, can you do the same thing in your own village as a pilot studies? They can't, because they're not inventors. Even private company, if you look at many private robot company, are no longer interested in Africans. They realize that many African academic and scholars don't have visions. They talk about robotics only to find that this guy don't understand anything about what he call digital sovereignty and decentralized artificial intelligence, laws and law of technologies. Many Africans have no idea what actually happening with regard to the data across science because they monopolize it. So for African to achieve its goal of rolling or understanding artificial intelligence, the first thing that they must do is the issue of digital sovereignties and also pushing what you call digital literacies. So African needs inventors, people who can own patents. You wake up early in the morning, you have got what you talk about inventorships and the ownership of inventors. What is it that you invented? Because instead of you look at philosophers, when I say data across the discipline, or we need interdisciplinary approach of understanding artificial intelligence, and it's like this. African people must understand what is it that the best model for that African can look into. But you look at yourself, Africa is so poor, it doesn't have anything. African people are talking about robot replacing the poorest of the poorest. That's very shocking. For me, if I was an African person who is in the position of power, the first thing that I'll do is we need human control or human managed technologies, human centered technologies, so that we can then be able to connect with each other. Remember, African continent is known for war, diseases, and another behavior that unacceptable. Can you imagine if these robotic end up into the hands of some Africans whom that this one are not tolerant to others? What will happen? We are going to have social genocide. So, ladies and gentlemen, technology is very important for the progress of the continent of Africa. However, African people should understand the limitation of the technologies and should understand that ethics is very important, and that this robot must govern by the law. On top of that, African people should understand the issue which is related to the so-called machine learning, especially with regard to the data, and the issue related to moral and ethical dilemma of these bias devices. So it's that's why this connect with what we call indigenous knowledge systems. Now, if we don't address this, we are currently sitting what we call powder keg. It's more like we are sitting on a powder keg. We need to address these things. The issue of the robot are here, but they need to be, we need to control them. They must be human-centered, because you cannot have, people trying to act like this robotic a new thing are not. The robots should be controlled by human beings. They need visions. You cannot have a system where you wake up early in the morning worry your life is under control of robots. The point I'm trying to make here is that African people must become part and parcel of the globalized world. By doing this, by having laws that govern these technologies. We can't even control small things because if you don't talk about data, who's gonna own data? Whoever owns data is a currency. Ladies and gentlemen, for today,